Welcome back to the upper tier, folks. This is Niall, your host. We're back. It's Friday night. The Premier League is upon us again. These weeks are rolling around so quick, especially when you have midweek games in Europe or domestic cups or wherever. They just come so quick, so fast. But this is the last game before yet another international break, which just boggles my mind at times the way these things come around and stuff. But let's get into this. We've got a Shankly sessions for you. It's a Brighton versus Liverpool preview. We've got some other news that's involved and stuff like that. We'll be looking at Jurgen Klopp's press conference. We'll be talking about team news, previews, all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to discuss in relation to this. Always a tough game. Henry's in the chat as always. How are you, Henry? Just came in to give it a video a like. Really appreciate it, pal. Enjoy your show at 8 o'clock, folks. Make sure you go over to Henry's channel and give him a sub as well. But yeah, we're here to discuss preview Brighton versus Liverpool. How is this one going to go? We heard the gaffer talking about it today. We will get into the press conference shortly. But this is a tough place to go. The Amex is a tough place to go when you want to bounce back from the absolute shambles and debacle of last Sunday is just, or last Saturday evening, I should say, which is just absolutely, still kind of beginning to ease out of it and stuff like that. But once that audio was released, it just blew my mind. When you listen to that kind of thing and you're talking about people in professional positions and all that kind of stuff, it's very frustrating. And then kind of I was in two minds when I heard then that the VAR official, he's not going to be officiating any Liverpool games for the rest of the season. And I was thinking, but that's not really the issue, is it? Is that really the issue? The guy has shown that he's incompetent in terms of officiating from a VAR position and stuff like that. So what are you supposed to do? Just move him on to the next thing? It's like if you're working in an organization and you have an employee who years ago we used to describe as a problem child. Like, you don't move them onto another department. You try and sort it out. You try and make it better where it is. And if that doesn't work, then you look at would he be best suited in another department. And if that's not the case, then you look, he just has to leave the organization. But it's kind of weird the way they operate and stuff like that, So, but it's look, we knew the gaffer, like this whole replay thing and all was absolute nonsense. It was never going to happen anyway. And we knew that sometimes the gaffer just does that to highlight things and press buttons. But let us know your thoughts nearly a week on. How do you feel about Vargate from that Spurs game? It was absolutely crazy. So we'll see what happens. But we've got a tough task ahead of us here. Up against Brighton, who are kind of become a bogey club for us somewhat. They are missing a number of key players, but they're still very, very strong. And we'll look at their team as well and see where the danger is going to come from. But if you look at how things have gone this week and stuff like that, obviously with the Spurs situation, they got a beating off Aston Villa last weekend, 6-1 or something. It was absolutely horrific beating. No one's seen that coming. We went out and look what happened with the Spurs game. Doesn't need to be spoke about again, I suppose. Then we both went out into the Europa League. Brighton came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 with Marseille. A well-worked, hard-worked draw. And they're finding that European football is slightly tougher, isn't it, when you're trying to balance both. We went out against Union, and we'll be talking a bit about it later, but kind of made hard work of it, didn't we? Some of it through our own endeavour and some of it through Unions. I thought the Union fans were brilliant. I thought our own fans were good on the night as well. And there was a good feel about the game as well. Now, I didn't see all the game. I followed it while we were doing the show last night as well. But it looked like Union came out much stronger in the second half. And hence it looked like we were deploying the big guns to get us over the line and stuff like that and all. And we started out with a strong side as well, which was kind of a little bit surprising. But I think Jurgen wanted to make sure that, we were going into the international break on top of the group and stuff like that. And I suppose pretty close to even qualifying at this stage. By the looks of things, we should do all right. But we're here to talk about Brighton. We'll get into, first of all, the gaffer's presser, because I think it's important that we go through that. Where are we? Oh, the presser review. So let's see what was said. The opening thing on it is Liverpool will be determined to put a few things right when they travel to Brighton and Hove Albion this weekend, explained Jurgen Klopp. So we'll go through that anyway. That's interesting. And that's kind of what I took out of the Spurs game the other day. God help who we play next. Didn't quite feel that way against Union. And I know Trent had discussed in the press conference as well, the pre-match press conference, that the players are kind of moved on from the situation and stuff like that. So that's fair enough. I think the players need to stay focused on the pitch, not the kind of hysteria that sometimes gets created off the pitch. He was talking on the talents Gravenberch has displayed, or Gravenberch has displayed for the club so far. He is technically incredibly good. The first touch is insane. The speed up top class. Really good shooter, which we saw with the Darwin Núñez goal, which was disallowed. But the ball was a fireball before. He's a really good player. Yes, he came late, and yes, we play slightly different, and yes, that needs time to adapt, and that's what we can give him, thank God. And he's completely happy with it, and is in the group, and he realised in each training session that he gets treated exactly like all the others. If he starts or not, he gets even a bit more information in specific moments. He can see what the other boys do in similar positions. He can watch it. He learned from it. He's a smart boy, so everything goes in the right direction. That's really, really nice to see. Assists in the other games, and now he has his first goal. It's good. Long may it continue. Very important for us. So big talk from the gaffer there on Ryan Gravenberch, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Seems very happy on avoiding a repeat of the results away at Brighton last season. Really, really important. Whichever options you have, if you play like you played last year, you will get a massive knock again. That's how it is. So we should play better, and I think we can play better. That's the first step into the right direction. That's what we have to make sure. Brighton had now, I think, a few results which didn't go exactly in their way, but that's a completely normal situation in the development. They had a lot of changes, lost top players. One of them we got, and still played incredible football. We could watch a little bit before the game. We couldn't see the first half when they were 2-0 down on Thursday night. I saw the second half when they put Marseille massively under pressure and got a point there. So that's it. So they showed a mentality there. I think the gaffer's focusing on the mentality there of Brighton at 2-0 down away to Marseille to come back into the game. It just shows what they have that bit about them. So we expect a really tough game against one of the best sides in the league, best coach team in the league, I would say, because where they're coming from, and yes, Graham Potter did already a lot of stuff, and that's a really smart move from Potter to De Zerbi, to be honest. But they made really big steps and super consistent, different formations, different players, lineups. Wow. In the end, you always see Brighton football, and I couldn't respect that more. But I'm really looking forward to the game because we have to put a few things right, because you can look once silly, but you should not look a second time silly. It still can happen because they are really good, but we have to do better, and we will give it a proper try to do better, definitely. So he's talking about the respect, and he's also talking about the dynamic of Brighton and how De Zerbi can change formations, change players, but they still have that core way of playing, that Brighton way. You plug something in, you plug something out. Doesn't change. They still play a certain way, which is a real good sign of a real coach side. Really well coached side. I'm finding McAllister's best position. Now we didn't even look for his best position yet. We just use him. He's a fantastic player. I love everything about him. Super smart tactically and off the pitch as well. So that's really, really nice to work with him. If we as a team defend well, he can play definitely the six. Definitely. Did I know that before? I had a guess, but I was not sure because I didn't know exactly how all the other boys will do defending. And because we defend more compact and better than we did in our bad phases last year, we have small spaces then. And then it's really, really good because he sees the situations really well. And from there, we have an extra footballer on the pitch, and it's really cool. But best position, he's too young for me to know it already. He's a midfielder. I can tell you that he's a midfielder, and I'm happy about having him. Absolutely. I wonder how Alexis McAllister feels about kind of doing that kind of six role, which is not a. I think we spoke about it a few weeks ago, either on a preview or a match reaction. It's not necessarily a definitive six role, if you like. It's nearly like a hybrid 6-8, if you like, when you're looking and play, because he still pushes forward and he still creates a lot of stuff, but yet he still drops into that pocket when he has to be a destroyer and break play up. So really, really interesting. from the gaffer there on Alexis McAllister, on the form of his options at centre back currently. So we don't make a difference between league games and cup games and stuff. We just play football and want to win the next football game ahead of us. So that means I didn't make a decision who plays together. I know that they all can play together. It's about the boys had a little bit of a history when they play too often, and that they get and they then get injured. We had that in the past, and we tried to share the really high intense part as long as it's possible. Maybe after the international break it's not possible anymore, then two of the centre halves play all the games. That's possible as well. I think this was talking in relation to kind of like the rotation of Joe Gomez, the rotation of Kanate, Kwanzaa, who's been electric. We will talk about him later. Absolutely excellent. And of course, Joel Matip as well. And then you've got Virgil and Kanate. And who is he trying to create pairings? And he's making the point here. He's not actually, there isn't an actual formulated plan here to create pairing teams, groups, if you like, and stuff like that. It's just picking the team that he feels. So I'm just happy. Nobody won the race. Nobody lost the race. Joe Gomez played super on right back. I'm pretty sure he played a really good game at centre half as well, Aston Villa. That was a good game. So it means they're all there and we need them all. I didn't make a decision. It's just about who is now ready to go. And after the internationals, I hope they come back. They come all back. First Brighton, but then we give them all then to all different countries, and then we make a decision for the next game. Interesting. So that's your roundup. That's your roundup of Jurgen Klopp. Plenty to talk about there, plenty to take out of that. Gravenberg, very, very impressed by him. Very, very impressed, of course, by Alexis McAllister and trying to define that kind of role from. He says, I think the way he kind of defined it was he's not necessarily putting the six on his back. What he's doing is he's letting him drift in there and see what happens and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. It's an interesting concept as well, so interesting from the gaffer on that one. Right, let's get into the preview then. Let's talk about that. So now Brighton this season, haven't at times always been the Brighton that we've seen. You've seen a couple of results there. If you look at their form at the moment, they 4 wins and 2 losses. And if you look at their overall form, is like a win, 2 wins, 3 losses, and a draw. Very unlike Brighton. If you look at Liverpool at the moment, obviously it was the 5 wins or whatever it was. The 5 wins on the loss in the last 6, and the loss being the Spurs game. But overall form in all competitions was also 5 wins on the loss. Yeah, because we won the other night against Union, so it moves forward. So it's safe to say our form going into this game is slightly better than Brighton's, but the mentality has to be there. It's really these games are about mentality. We really need to take the 3 points in this game, because the big game, to keep the pressure on, the big game is coming up then at 4:30, Arsenal versus Man City, and also you have Spurs playing Luton tomorrow, which I would expect them to win and go top of the table. But obviously with Brighton playing Brighton in around us as well, or in around that area in the league as well, and Aston Villa coming up as well. So there's a lot on the line in this game, and also we'll want to lay down a marker before going into the international based on what happened last week. So that's going to be really, really important, If you look at team news, Brighton, Estepinian, who's a huge player for them, joins other knee victims, Jacob Moder and Julio Enciso, in the treatment room. These are big players. These are big players for Brighton as well, remember. And again, you look at the Serbian, you look at his approach and all, and it's just, right, this is who I have. We got to get on with it. He makes different changes and stuff like that, and he gets on with it. James Milner and Adam Lallana are also expected to miss out, ex-Liverpool boys and stuff like that. Yeah, I always like seeing them play and stuff like that. Lallana, when he's come in this season, he's done all right for Brighton. He's looked very bright and stuff like that. You know what you get with Jimmy Milner, don't you? Always solid. For Liverpool at the moment, obviously Curtis Jones begins his 3-game domestic ban on the back of that red in the Spurs game. Jota also serves a 1-game ban. Cody Gakpo is out with a knee issue that he picked up in the Spurs game. Stefan Bietic is out with a calf. Quaven Kelleher is out with a knee. And we've seen another setback for Thiago Alcantara on his hip injury. They're all out of contention as well. So we've got some big players there out at the moment as well. Curtis, Cody, and Jota have started the season really, really well. So quite a mixed bag there. So if you look at Brighton's potential starting lineup, and I know the Serbi, he likes to change it from the Thursday and stuff like that as well. So the thoughts on this one is you probably go with Verbruggen and Nets, Veltman, Dunk, Webster, Lamptey, Gilmore, Pascal Gross, Sully March, Pedro, Matoma, and Ferguson. That's an extremely strong side. If you look at that, if you look at the tenaciousness of Gilmore in the midfield and stuff like that, who loves a right out of battle. We know how good Pascal Gross and Sully March are, and we also know how good the boy Pedro is bedded in. He looks excellent. Matoma, who's always been a threat to us, especially down that side. Trent is going to have to be on his toes if it's Trent who starts. And of course, Evan Ferguson can score goals from everywhere and every different type of goal. Really, really dangerous player who we know well, Irish international. So we're gonna have to be on our toes tomorrow, big time. We're gonna have to really, try and get an early footing in the game, try and control the game from the off, settle down the crowd and stuff like that. Don't give them anything to get momentum and stuff like that. We know there's a lot of really good ball players in there as well. We know how dangerous the likes of Duncan all can be as well on set pieces, corners, that type of thing. But it's those deep running kind of attackers that we need to be careful on. They're the ones we've caught out in the past where we don't tend to pick them up. The likes of Gross and March and Pedro to some extent like to arrive kind of late in the moment, and that's kind of where we freeze and we don't realize we don't pick up these players and stuff like that. And we've even seen some of that this season, so we need to be really aware of that. Our starting lineup, we'll take a look at it now. Where are we? Our starting lineup. It's hard to know what he's going to go with here. It sounds from the press conference. I did the lineup yesterday, but it sounds from the presser today like he's probably going to go with Joel Matip. But I think he'll probably put Trent in there. I think we'll need that attacking flair in there going forward against Brighton. So I'm going to go, of course, with Alisson and Nets. It's a pity Queeveen was injured as well and couldn't play last night and stuff like that. Alisson deputised from Queeveen into Europa League, if you like. But you're looking at a strong back line there. Robbo, Virgil, Kanate or Matip, I'm not too sure. And Trent, I'd say. But we could see Joe Gomez at some stage, who's been doing really well lately. I went with a midfield of Alexis McAllister. I wanted him out in the 8 with Szoboszlai, and then I had Wataru in the 6. Because I think my thinking was with their strong late runs, that deep sort of way that they play and stuff like that, it might be vital to have an actual natural 6 in there. Now, some people are saying that maybe McAllister should drop in there and Gravenberch should start because he's on a bit of a roll at the moment. That may be the way to go, but it may leave us a little bit exposed because that's a lot of attack moving forward. And we've even seen it with Alexis McAllister playing in the 6. He tends to get forward a lot as well, and that space kind of opens up, which could expose the back line, especially against a team like Brighton. Up front, it's kind of, with no Jota and no Cody Gakpo, it kind of picks itself somewhat. You got Salah on the right. You're going to get Nunez up the middle. He's probably going to cause the chaos between Webster and Dunk. I would hope. And then you have Luis Diaz, of course, cutting in from the left as he does. So we have our work cut out for us tomorrow against these guys. The key area is going to be in that midfield there and how that midfield is handled. We know how those boys can run through, how they can transition very quickly and all that kind of stuff. So if he does go in with Endo in there, it's going to be really, really important that he understands what's unfolding around him and he's able to keep control of it. And again, you're going to need Dominic in there and you're going to need, obviously, Alexis McAllister working really hard both ways throughout this whole game. Because the one thing that Brighton don't do is they're not a low block team and they don't sit back, they want to attack. So that should open up for us a little bit as well. So on our counter attack and our counter press, we should be okay, and it should create some stuff for us. But we're gonna need to be in it from the off. There'll be no bedding in this game, or we'll find ourselves a goal or two down. So we need to be really, really careful. So that's the game. That's the lineup that I've picked there. The front line, I think, picks itself. I think the midfield, you could drop Alexis into where Endo is, and you could put Gravenberch out there. as an option. Trent maybe versus Joe, who knows? I know last time when Trent was playing, I think Matoma gave him an awful time. So there might be an option, there might be a call there maybe to use Joe. But looking at Trent last night as well and the way he was spraying those balls around, and he's only going to be fitter now for this game after getting yesterday's game under his belt. I think they're going to be critical too, especially the switching of the play over to Luis Diaz in that space and stuff like that. So for me, Trent starts. Maybe a case if he does tire out a little bit, Joe comes in and stuff like that. And then the question is, are you going to go with Kanate or are you going to go with Joel Matip? Like I said, Kwanzaa's been excellent. Excellent, that young lad. We've really found a little gem there if we treat him the right way and stuff like that, So let us know. Let us know in the comments, or if you're watching it on the replay, your starting 11, what your thoughts are, what we're going to be up against, all that kind of stuff. Also, let us know your predictions and stuff like that. I'm predicting a 2-1 win to Liverpool. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think there'll be plenty of chances created, but you're talking about some really good goalkeeping in there as well and some really good defences and stuff like that. So I think the scoreline will be still down, but I think Liverpool might just nick a 2-1. And now Darren on the show last night, I think called it a 2-2, if I'm not mistaken. If you do go with the 2-1 to Liverpool, it's worth about 8-1 to you on Boyle Sports. Brighton to win is 11-5. The draw is 14-5, and Liverpool are 21-20. So Liverpool basically even money. Brighton are just a shade over 2-1, and the draw is nearly 3-1. That's the betting on the game at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses as well. Let's get into other news. William's in. How are you, William? Thanks for joining us tonight. Do you see anyone taking Nunez's place in the team at the 65th minute mark, or do you think he will play the full 90? I think he'll probably have to play the full 90, won't he? Because we've no Jota, we've no Cody. I think he has to get the full 90 tomorrow, doesn't he? I mean, you've got Ben Doken there probably, but Ben Doken would only he'd be shifting unless he shifts Salah into the middle at some stage. Well, I think Darwin will get the full 90 tomorrow. I don't see us having much more of an option. I suppose if you wanted to really mix things up, depending on how it's going, you could put Ben Doak in there on the right at some stage, shift Salah into the middle, and shift Darwin out onto the left, maybe if Luis Diaz had to come off. But I think you're kind of messing around with things at that stage. I think tomorrow is one of those games because of what transpired last week with the red cards and the injuries. The team just kind of up front picks itself really tomorrow, So I don't see any major changes there, William. As I said, the only things that are kind of debatable is, maybe Joe Gomez at some point coming in, Joel Matip versus Kanate, and then whether he goes with Endo or whether he puts Alexis in there and goes with Gravenberg with the form he's been shown. They're the kind of real kind of decisions that have to be made. Other than that, I don't see a huge amount of decisions. We're kind of like, you might want to release Harvey in there maybe on 70 minutes or something like that if you need to lift the energy again and we maybe need a bit more energy. I think he'll put Darwin in there just to upset them at the back there because Dunk and Webster are kind of fairly solid there, but they can be got at. And Darwin could get at them, especially pace-wise as well. He might have a bit too much for them. And remember, Brighton are going to have options as well. You've seen in there Dahoud played last night, Ansu Fati played last night, Danny Welbeck. So they've really, really dangerous players all around the park. And the one thing about Brighton as well is they score goals all around the park as well. So from a formation and a strategy point of view, it's very, very difficult to plan for a team like that because there's no one player that you look at and go, right, it's him. Because, if you focus on Matoma, you've got Evan Ferguson. If you're not focusing on Evan Ferguson, you could be looking at Danny Welbeck. If you're not looking at that, you've Pascal Gross arriving late. You've Sully March cutting in. You've all those things to deal with, and you have to be so much on your toes. And then, as I said, from potential set pieces or corners, you've Lewis Dunk, who can be very dangerous on them as well and tends to pick up a few goals during the season. So we just need to be so careful and just really, really tuned in with the game on Sunday. And it's, as I said, so important to pick up 3 points and keep, that would probably park away the hassle of last weekend. Then we can go into an international break. And by the time we come back, we'll have fully moved on from it, ready to, kick on again and stuff like that. And it'll hurt the players as well, the streak that they were on and stuff like that, and the manner in which it all happened and stuff like that. So hopefully what he has is he has the players fired up in a certain way, but not in an emotional way that they don't play the game that we want them to play. Because sometimes when you get really, really emotional about those kind of things, sometimes your emotion can spill over, and you lose sight of what you're trying to do on the pitch. So I think if we can motivate them in a certain way with the disappointment of last week, that would be really, really good. But not to push that emotion too far that it kills off actually what we're trying to do. So yeah, but I'm sure the gaffer will have that all in hand. Other news, let's get into other news. Did a few shorts today and stuff like that. Start with the guy down the bottom on the right there. Came out and made a statement saying that he wished he had failed the medical at Liverpool when he got that move from Newcastle. Well, I said it today on a short on the channel as well, and I'll say it again now. Andy, most Liverpool fans, if not all Liverpool fans, wish you had failed the medical as well. So there you go. So you're not on your own there. Everyone probably thinks the same, you know. But yeah, just always trying to push that shithousery out there when it suits him and stuff, you know. The boy Jarrell Kwanzaa, we need to talk about. He's been absolutely brilliant this season. Long may it continue. Nothing but good stuff to say about this guy. He's come into the team, big, strong defender, solid, no craziness, no nervousness, very controlled in his game and all that kind of stuff, which is really, really cool to see. Delighted to see him developing the way he is. He has a big future at Liverpool. He's a big boy. He's going to be a sensational defender. I'm glad that we have him there, and I like to see him getting the minutes he's getting as well, which is really, really cool. Disappointing today to hear about Thiago. Another setback going into the international break with this this hip injury that was supposed to take 4 weeks to heal. Looks like it's taken nearly a lifetime at this stage. I did speak on Thiago earlier in the season. I thought maybe if he had got fit, I thought maybe Liverpool might have decided, depending on how the midfield all came together with Gravenberch kind of laid in the window and stuff like that. I thought Liverpool might look to move him on. I personally think at this stage that it's kind of a luxury to have him around. Look, we know how sensational he is on his day as a player and stuff like that. But if you're not available to play, it's a problem. And I think really in that midfield area is where we need to watch it. And I just think maybe January might be the time if he's fit. Get him a few games in there, get him back in the shop window. Maybe it's time to move him on. Show a little bit of that rootlessness that we need to show at times and stuff, you know. So I think at this stage with Thiago, I don't think if we're going to go into a title race and we're going to really push on this season, I don't think he's the kind of player we can afford to be carrying in the squad if he's not going to be fit and available to play. I think it hampers the options of the gaffer. So let me know your thoughts on that. I'd love to see him get back playing and stuff like that, and I'd love to see what he brings and how he is after the injury. But it just seems the more of these injuries that happen, the longer and longer and longer it's taken for him to come back off these injuries, which obviously derails some of the gaffer's plans and stuff like that. Now, because he's been out so long with this hip injury, are we kind of at a stage now where our midfield has moved on from Thiago Alcantara? As crappy as that sounds, but we have to be honest about it, you know. But let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. How do you feel about Thiago? Should we be moving him on at this stage? Is he a luxury player? Can we afford to be carrying him? All that kind of stuff. And then the last thing last night certainly was not home alone with the McAllisters. Kevin was on the pitch playing. Alexis was on the pitch playing. These two brothers. Huge proud moment for the dad, I'm sure. I'm sure growing up as a dad and you have these two sons, did you ever envisage a day where both boys would be playing against each other at Anfield in a competitive European tie? But hats off to both of them, and you seen them chatting away before the game and stuff like that. Real good family, real tight together, and all that. The dad's just smiling because if you look at the dad and the position he's in, he's on a winner here no matter what happens, you know. So it's really, really cool. But I just thought it was really, really cool to see it last night and stuff like that. And look forward now. The away game should be good as well and stuff like that. And that, as I said earlier, that Union fan base were excellent last night, and they gave a very, very good account of themselves. Some of it brought upon by ourselves, but some of it their own play as well. They played well, especially second half. From what I seen from a distance, I wasn't totally focused on the game because we were obviously podcasting with the Thursday Tier Talk. Don't forget to check that out as well. Has our tips for Beat the Bookie this week and our Premier League predictions for the weekend as well. So definitely worth a watch. Don't forget also as well, folks, you'll find most of the shows up there on audio. audio shows on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you pick up your audio shows. Our shows are there every week as well, so not just YouTube. But if you could, that's it. That's our roundup. Let us know your predictions for the Brighton game. Let us know where you think the danger's going to be. Let us know your predicted lineups as well, and how important this match is to us. As always, subscribe to the channel, the upper tier. The Shankly Sessions is the Liverpool section in it. Hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video, and of course share the content. Just one message before we go, folks. We'd like to send our thoughts, prayers and condolences to the Ferguson family. Alex today lost his wife Kathy. I think she was 84 years of age. Very, very sad, lifelong partner. And one of the reasons why Alex decided to retire at the time as well was to go spend time. He had given enough time to United. He wanted to spend time with his beautiful wife Kathy. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the whole Ferguson family. It's a massive family there with the sons and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I believe, as well. So our thoughts are with Alex, and we won't say too much more about it because it's private at this stage and stuff like that. So we thought we'd end the show that way. Until next time, folks, have a great weekend.